For new subscribers to the channel, welcome to Madness. The madness of the off-season. So if you haven't been through a regular off-season, I'm considering this a regular off-season. Unlike the pause, which went on for, 5 months? We didn't know what was going on. So I'm treating this like a regular off-season, even though we're not sure when next season starts. And I wanted to look at something. So I've got 3 Stanley Cup winners on this side of the board. And what's interesting is, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you need to be one of these teams in the last 3 years. You have to be in this last row. These teams, they're not allowed. So I wanted to look at rolling averages because we talk about, okay, so which team's ready to win a Stanley Cup? Who's ready to win a Stanley Cup? Who's ready to win a Stanley Cup? And we can have this debate, but I think, prolonged excellence matters. And I think for the teams that win Stanley Cups, they go through their ups and downs, but they're generally pretty darn good teams. So I'm going to do this a little bit different. I'll go through this in alphabetical order after I tell you exactly how I'm going through this. So the St. Louis Blues win the Stanley Cup in 2019. Their winning percentage that year was a .604. So this idea they weren't a very good team, ridiculous. They were a very good team. 2018, they had a winning percentage of .573. There's an asterisk there because they missed the playoffs that year. 2017, .604 winning percentage. 2016, they finished with a .652 winning percentage. The average of the 3 years before they win the Stanley Cup is .610. That's the average of the 3 years before they win the Stanley Cup. That's the number I wanted to come up with. I wanted to say, okay, so what kind of a rolling number are we looking for here to maybe find an idea of who might be Stanley Cup contenders and champions? Because keep in mind, the year before St. Louis won it, nobody thought St. Louis was going to be the Stanley Cup champions in 2019 other than diehard Blues fans. And even they would have been doubting. Tampa Bay wins the Stanley Cup after a huge flameout. So 2019, I should say, they finished with a winning percentage of .780. Absolutely ridiculous. The year before, .689. 2017, the year before that, they had a .573 and missed the playoffs. So .573 shows up on both St. Louis and Tampa's. So if we find a .573 in here, maybe that's your Stanley Cup winner of the future. Sorry, Toronto, you had a .579 this year. Better luck next year. .681 is the rolling average. I say that because it always ends up coming back to what do the Leafs do? So Tampa Bay this year had a winning percentage of .657. Pretty good. Pretty good winning percentage, and the best of the 3 most recent Stanley Cup champions. Washington. In 2017, the year before they win the Stanley Cup, they had a winning percentage of .720. So while the Blues the year before missed the playoffs, both Tampa and Washington had huge seasons the year before, were Stanley Cup favorites, and it all fell apart. The year before that, they had a .732 winning percentage, and in 2014-2015, they had a .616 winning percentage. .640 was their winning percentage when they won the Stanley Cup in 2017-2018, rolling average of .689. So again, your 3 most recent Stanley Cup winners in the 3 seasons average before they won it. .689 for Washington, .681 for Tampa Bay, and .610 for St. Louis. So I would say .600 might be a good indicator that a team is a contender. So we'll start over here with the Anaheim Ducks. And the Anaheim Ducks, not really a contender, building their way up, and pretty good team, I think, on the way, but they're not there. .472 was their winning percentage this year. The year before, .488. 2017-2016, they had a .616 winning percentage, which skews the number to an overall .525. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the number being skewed because you look at St. Louis and their overall number gets skewed by the 2015-2016 season. So that's why I think the 3-year average is pretty good. So .525 is overall. Now for Arizona, 2020, they had a .529 winning percentage. In 2019, they had a .524. 2018, the number that really drags it down is that .427. That number's going to drop off next year, but their overall average is a .493, and that's one of the lowest ones on the board. They're actually one of the few teams that's below .500 over the last 3 years because .500, well, that's not what it used to be. Boston, 2020, they had a .714 winning percentage, so not out of line with Tampa and Washington the years before. They won. .652 the year before that, and .683 the year before that, and the overall average is a .683 winning percentage. Now, the trick is this. So Boston does finish with the overall lead, 683. That's why I'm wearing Boston, because they are the overall leaders here. And that would tell you, when you look at this, 681 for Tampa, 689 for Washington. Well, Boston should be in line. The problem is, I don't know that Boston is in line. And to me, they look like a team that's probably peaked, and they're probably on their way down. But that's what we said about Washington as well the year before they won. St. Louis was not a playoff team, and for Tampa, they'd blown it up in the first round. They lost in 4 straight after winning the President's Trophy. How do you recover from that? You win the Stanley Cup. So I'm not going to write off Boston. This is just pure math. So they ended up finishing first, and thus the Boston Bruins jersey. Buffalo, 2020, 493 winning percentage. 2019, 463. And 2018, a 378. And if you're a Buffalo fan, you're saying, oh my God, we had the best winning percentage we've had in years this year. Yeah, 445 is the average over the last 3 years. Buffalo is just trying to get back to the playoffs right now. They're a long ways out from being a contender, which is why you're going to hear Eichel rumors forever. Calgary, 2020, they had a 564 number. 652 was the year before, where they had this great season, and the year before that, a 512. So Calgary's up and down, up and down. The average is a 576. They're due for a bounce back year next year. I think they get it. It depends on what they do with their goaltending. Carolina, 2020, they had a 596 winning percentage. 2019, they had a 604. 2018, a 506. So that drags the overall number down to a 569, which tells you they'll probably have a pretty good year this year coming up, 2020, 2021, and then maybe 2022, they get that Stanley Cup contender spot. Chicago, 2020, a 514 winning percentage, which was better than 2019's 512 and better than 2018's 463 for an average of 496. I love Doc. I love what this team's doing with their prospects. Not sure about the goaltending. Goaltending's going to be interesting for Chicago next year, but not contenders. Colorado gets interesting. 2020 this year, they had a 657 winning percentage. 2019, they had a 549. 2018, they had a 579 winning percentage for an overall average of 595. They finished 7th on the board with that 595 winning percentage. Not too shabby. So yes, Colorado, by this board here, tells me they're in a position where they could very well win a Stanley Cup. They've had some strong years. Columbus, 2020, they had a 579 winning percentage. 2019, it was a 598. 2018, it was a 591. So their overall average is a 589. They had their lowest number this season, but Columbus, at the very least, they're on the board at 8th. Yeah, Columbus is on this board. So, again, it's interesting to see which teams are on the board. Dallas, this year, where they go to the finals, 594 winning percentage. They had a 567 the year before that. And that 2017-2018 season, a 561 winning percentage. So that comes out to an average of 574. They do not get on the board as a top 8 team. Detroit. Why not? Let's do it. 275 was their winning percentage this year. The year before that, 451. And 2017-2018, 445 for an average of 390. Not a contender. Edmonton, 585 winning percentage this year. 2018-2019, a 482. 2017-2018, a 476. For an average of 514. So again, the Oilers don't get on the board. Surprisingly, Florida, pretty solid overall numbers. They just can't make the playoffs. Their mediocrity means they finished with pretty decent overall number, but yeah, they're not a playoff team. 565 this year. Last year, a 524 winning percentage. 2017-2018, a 585 for an average of 558. They're better than other teams on this board, and yet, I don't know. LA has fallen on some hard times, to quote Dusty Rhodes. 457 was their winning percentage this year. Last year, 433. The year before that, 598 for an average of 496. So LA, not contenders, but I do see them getting back into the playoff picture as soon as this year. Not necessarily making the playoffs, but at least being in the running, and there's a lot of exciting young players in Los Angeles. Minnesota, who have Kaprizov coming up, and there's some intriguing storylines with Minnesota, of course, with what Bill Guerin's been doing. But their average is bad. 558 this year, 506 the year before that, 616 in 2017-2018 for an average of 560. Montreal, up year, down year, up year, down year, continued this year. They had a down year. It was 500, but they knocked out Pittsburgh, so that made them feel better. The year before that, 585 winning percentage. 2017-2018, a 433. So it averages out to a 506 winning percentage. I like how this came out. I do. Nashville. Now, we all agree, Nashville, they're probably on their way down. But their 565 winning percentage this year is only 8 percentage points below St. Louis's the year before they win the Stanley Cup. So Nashville was 610 in 2018-2019, 713 in 2017-2018. So higher number there than anything St. Louis had going on, but it's in line with some of what we see with Tampa and Washington. Their average is 629, which is second behind Boston over those 3 seasons. So Nashville had a down year. They could have a bounce back. You just don't know. It's possible. New Jersey, 493 winning percentage this season, 439 the year before that, 591 the year prior, and a rolling average of 507. So not a contender, but I think their darkest days are behind them. Islanders, 588 winning percentage this year, 628 last year, 488 the year before, 568 winning percentage. They don't get into the top 8, but never bet against Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz is that variable that could very well knock one of these teams off or 2 of these teams off in next year's playoffs. So don't bet against Barry Trotz. Rangers I think are on their way up, but not contenders, clearly. 564 this season was their winning percentage. That all became overshadowed by Carolina destroying them. 476 the year before that, and in 2017-2018, 470. So they're trending in the right direction. 503 is their average. So not contenders, according to this board. Ottawa. Some hard times for Ottawa as well. 437 this season was their winning percentage, but that was their best in a couple of years. They had a 390 winning percentage last year and a 409 the year before that. The average, 412. So, of course, the draft is big for Ottawa, and there's a belief that Ottawa's darkest days may very well be behind them. Philadelphia. Philadelphia's number would be much higher, except they have up year, down year, up year, down year, so there's a down year on here. 645 was the winning percentage this year. Great season. 500 the year before that. 598 the year prior to that. Their overall average is 581, so they finished just below Columbus on the overall number on here. So Philadelphia is close. They're not that far off. If it wasn't for the 500 season in here, they would be in a much better spot. Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh has not won the Cup in the last 3 years, but Pittsburgh is on the board. 623 was their winning percentage this year. They had 610 as their winning percentage each of the previous 2 seasons. The average is 614. They're 4th on this board. That 614 finishes them 4th on the overall number. So yeah, San Jose then. San Jose, 450 was their winning percentage this year. This is after they had a 616 winning percentage the season before that and 610 the year before that, which tells you that 450 is too low. They have to come up. Their overall average is 559. They're not going to end up getting back into the 600s next season in all likelihood, but they're going to be better than 450. They just have to be. St. Louis, Tampa, we've already covered them, so we'll move on to Toronto. And the Leafs, in 2020, had a 579 winning percentage. The year prior to that, 610. In 2017-2018, they had a 640 winning percentage. They're trending in the wrong direction. Not going to pretend they're not. I'm not going to pretend that their problems don't exist. But that number on the board says they're 610 average. That average number tells you they're right here at 6th on the board. So they're there. And when you look at the average being 610, that's equal to St. Louis the 3 seasons prior to when they won the Stanley Cup. And Toronto has a better winning percentage this season than St. Louis had the year before they won the Stanley Cup. Congratulations, Toronto. You're the 2021 Stanley Cup champions. There you go. And overall, the numbers tell you that Toronto could very well have a very good chance. Not only that, but you look at how St. Louis trended. Very good season 2015-2016, and it trends down each of the following 2 seasons before they win a Stanley Cup. And Toronto, very good season here, 640, down to 610, down to 579. And maybe next year they win it. But they have to go back up to a 600 in order to get there if they're going to mimic what St. Louis did. Number just blows you away, right? I'm just throwing that out there. Vancouver, 565 winning percentage this year. It feels like they're building up. Last year they had a 494 winning percentage. The year prior to that, 445. Overall average is a 501. So they're barely above 500 over the last 3 years. They're building. I again, Vancouver fans will say they're contenders this coming season. We have yet to see what Jim Benning's going to do to make that happen. It's possible. I agree it's possible. Not probable, but it's possible. And we'll see. But that 501 tells you not yet. Vegas. Vegas is on this board. 606 was their winning percentage this season. Last year, 567. 2017, 2018, 665. So it's interesting. The rolling average is 613 over their 3 years of existence, which is ridiculous. But this year they kind of split the difference between a disappointing 2018-2019 season and a fantastic 2017-2018 season. Overall, they have 613, which puts them 1 percentage point behind Pittsburgh and 3 ahead of Toronto. So they're 5th overall in this board. And again, they're ahead of where St. Louis was on their 3-year average. They're behind Tampa and they're behind Washington. So we can skip Washington, go down to Winnipeg. Winnipeg, 2020, 563 was their winning percentage. The year before, 604. The year before, 695. Interestingly, overall, that's a 621. They drop all 3 seasons, same as St. Louis. But that is the outlier, because you look at Washington, they were down with that 720 from the 732, which was up from 616. And in Tampa's case, they built up both seasons prior to 2020, where their actual winning percentage was lower than the previous 2 seasons, but they won themselves the Stanley Cup. In both Tampa and Washington's cases, they had basically, it looked like, ran out of gas when they were President's Trophy winners, and then eased off a little bit the following seasons, and they won. So it's different, but anyways, for Winnipeg, their average at 621 puts them 3rd on the board, I should say, with that 621. So the 600 club, you've got Boston, Nashville, Winnipeg, Pittsburgh, Vegas, and Toronto. So if you're a Leafs fan and you've been arguing till you're blue in the face that this team's been a contender, you're right. Now what they do next year, that's what's going to tell you whether or not they end up being the Blues or they end up being one of these other teams on the board that has good numbers and just didn't end up winning themselves the Stanley Cup. I thought this was an interesting way to look at it. It tells you that Boston could very well be the next champions. I don't see it. I'm being honest as a Bruins fan. I don't see a 2021 Stanley Cup for Boston, but it is interesting to look at. And I was, mildly surprised to see Nashville up there. But again, Nashville did win a President's Trophy in 2017, 2018. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And here's the question. Of the 8 teams on the right here who have not won a Stanley Cup in the last 3 years, because that's the criteria I'm looking for here, is who wins the next one, and I'm disqualifying Washington, Tampa, and St. Louis in that question. Out of those 8, which one's most likely? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, it's a fun thing. I'll look at other ways of looking at it. This isn't my official prediction either. Absolutely not. That's after free agency and the draft and all that other wonderful stuff. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.